Tonight on Connecticut's news station, a Board of Education meeting in Waterbury just days after the city decides not to renew the superintendent's contract. We're getting reaction from the community.
Plus, a major fine for a utility company right here in Connecticut. Why Frontier has to now pay up $2.5 million.
And more flooding for Vermont as the state continues to clean up from last year's heavy rainfall. How Connecticut crews are helping pick up the pieces.
Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Bridget Bjorlo. The Waterbury Board of Education meeting tonight for the first time since the mayor and the board chose not to renew the superintendent's contract.
Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc spoke with city leaders and board leaders about what comes next.
Tonight, the board and the public will get a chance to be in the same room for the first time since the superintendent's contract was not renewed. Now, ahead of that, we spoke with the vice president of the board about that decision and what's to come next.
We have a couple of things going on.
Waterbury Board of Education Vice President Liz Brown and the rest of her peers have their work cut out for them. Tonight, they'll start talking about who their interim superintendent will be and how the process to find a permanent replacement works.
It was a ping pong for sure.
Yeah. This after former superintendent Dr. Verna Ruffin got this letter Monday saying her contract is up and won't be renewed.
We think the superintendent's done a great job. I think we've put a lot of innovations in place in terms of options for families, the international school, early college high.
For the last few months, the majority of board members fought to extend Dr. Ruffin's contract. But in the face of a teacher survey showing overall dissatisfaction and the news of a second Department of Justice investigation looking into the treatment of special education students, Mayor Paul Ponerewski Jr. felt there was no way forward.
That's it. I just saw that was sort of the end of the road for me. I just didn't see any way to go forward.
Especially since the mayor says Dr. Ruffin knew about the investigations years ago and didn't tell the city or the board. Once he pulled the plug on her contract this week, he says the board could have pushed back, but didn't.
I think at that point we felt, given the unions, their feelings, and the administration, we just felt we needed a fresh start.
Brown says it'll start with hiring a consulting firm to conduct a national search for a replacement. That process could take 10 months to a year, but Brown says it'll be thorough.
I think we just have to have a very open, transparent process, bring all the voices together, and pick someone who's going to be right for the district. You're not in public service if you're not going to try to do what's right for the kids and the people. So we wouldn't be elected if we had another alternative, right?
Now, for now, Brown says the deputy superintendent will act as the interim superintendent as they make their decision for who's going to be in that place permanently. Now, we did make efforts once again to reach out to Dr. Ruffin again today, and we didn't hear anything back. We are in Waterbury. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Julia, thank you. Rocky Hill police are investigating a crash involving a pedestrian. Police say a person was hit on Winter Lane just before 11:30 this morning. That person was taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say it appears a construction vehicle hit the pedestrian. The driver did remain on scene and is cooperating with the investigation, and anyone with any information about what happened here should call Rocky Hill Police.
A guidance counselor in Norwalk is facing charges accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a 13-year-old male student. Police say Luisa Melchione is a counselor at Nathan Hall Middle School. The arrest warrant says the 47-year-old had multiple sexual encounters with the teenager in her office. The counselor is charged with second-degree sexual assault and risk of injury to a minor. We're told she is no longer employed by Norwalk Public Schools.
Well, to South Windsor now, where fire officials are still investigating what caused an RV to burst into flames this morning.
The fire destroyed 4 campers parked at Pete's RV Center, and Fox 61's Lindsay Kane has the latest on the investigation.
You could hardly see what's left after that fire earlier this morning here at Pete's RV Center in South Windsor. Now, fire officials say the fire spread very quickly from one RV to 3 other RVs. Take a look at those flames. Fire officials say this all happened just after 4 o'clock this morning. You can see just how large that fire was, looking like an orange blaze with lots of black smoke. Fire officials say, again, the fire started in just one RV, but then spread to the others. Luckily, no one was inside any of them during the fire. There were some challenges for firefighters, but luckily, no injuries were reported.
A lot of heat with us, dealing with not only the fire heat, but the temperature heat. So my concern is always with the guys. The guys did a great job. Nobody's hurt. There was no injuries here. The property was closed.
There was also a fire here at Pete's RV Center back in 2018. A shed and an RV were destroyed by those flames. Now, the cause of this fire from today is still under investigation. The fire marshal's office is handling that investigation. Any updates will bring you on air, online, and on Fox 61 Plus. In South Windsor, Lindsay Kane, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Lindsay, thanks. People in Texas continue to struggle after Hurricane Beryl.
Officials say they expect 500,000 homes and businesses still to be without power into next week, but crews are starting to make progress with more than 1 million customers getting the lights turned back on. Governor Greg Abbott is now calling for an investigation into exactly why it's taking so long for the others.
Meanwhile, up here in the Northeast, Connecticut is sending crews to Vermont, where they are dealing with the remnants of Beryl. More than 100 people had to be rescued yesterday during the rainfall, and one person was killed when their car was swept away by the water. Residents of an apartment building in Plainfield had just minutes to evacuate before water destroyed the building. And this rainfall coming exactly 1 year after Vermont was hit with catastrophic flooding. At least one person died in this rain as well. Our own meteorologist Ryan Breton was up in Vermont tracking the damage of that storm. Officials spent days keeping a close eye on a nearby dam threatening to overflow into the Winooski River, which flows through Montpelier. This week's rain bringing back those memories for residents all across the state.
Now, thankfully, we have no flooding issues here in Connecticut, just a lot more heat.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank joining us now to talk about that. Rachel, we are actually going to end one heat wave before we begin another, right?
Yes. You'll have 3 seconds to catch your breath, and then we're right back at it. So this is day 5 of the heat wave for the Hartford area, which just so happens to be the hottest in the state. So these numbers are not representative of everyone, certainly not the shoreline, but 90s from Sunday through today. I think we get a little bit of a break tomorrow and also Saturday, but then we are right back at it, and it might even be hotter as we head into next week. 87 right now in the Hartford area, 84 for New Haven, and certainly no heat wave in Groton this week. It is 79 degrees there. I wanted to show you the heat index because the last couple of days when I have showed you these numbers, they've been up in the triple digits. So it's not feeling as hot as it has the last couple of days, and there's nothing to show you on the radar. So if you want to enjoy those less hot temperatures, you absolutely can tonight. Maybe take your dog for a longer walk. I know mine's been itching to go out, but it's been too hot for her for our long walks. Upper 70s by the news at 11. Overnight lows will be close to 70, which is a little bit more comfortable than it has been. And during the day tomorrow, we'll see a mix of sun and clouds, an occasional shower or storm. But unfortunately, it looks like a better chance for more numerous showers and storms on Saturday. We'll get a closer look at the weekend forecast coming up.
Well, new tonight, Connecticut's Public Utilities Regulatory Authority voted to fine Frontier Communications $2.5 million for what they say were lapses in service quality and performance.
Fox 61's political reporter Emma Wolforth joining us now in studio with the details. Emma.
Bridget, Brent, yesterday the 3 commissioners for the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, also known as PURA, voted unanimously to issue a notice of violation and a civil penalty of nearly $2.5 million against Frontier. PURA claims Frontier repeatedly failed to meet 2 quality of service standards between January 1st, 2015 and December 31st of last year. They say Frontier did not meet the minimum maintenance appointment met standard on 35 different occasions and the minimum out-of-service repair standard on 51 occasions. Bureau also says Frontier failed to file 16 required exception reports for 3-month periods. This comes after the State Office of Consumer Counsel sent a petition to PURA earlier this year to investigate the quality of service standards for Frontier. That petition shows from January 1st, 2015 to June 30th of 2023, Frontier failed to meet those mandatory standards of service for out-of-service repairs and maintenance appointments. On average, statewide, OCC says Frontier was non-compliant for the maintenance standard 30 out of 96 months. That's 31% of the time. For the out-of-service standard repaired, they were non-compliant 44 out of 96 months, 46% of the time. And here in the capital region, Frontier fell below the maintenance standard 37 out of 96 months, or 39%, more than 1/3 of that time period. Frontier also failed to meet their out-of-service repair standard 50% of the time here in the capital region. Back in May, a lawyer for Frontier issued a response, writing in part, quote, "Frontier provides good quality service to its customers in the competitive Connecticut telecommunications market. There is no reason to continue to enforce decades-old legacy service quality regulations against just Frontier. While other competing providers servicing the vast majority of Connecticut's customers can operate freely in the market, there is no reason to penalize Frontier." PURA is ordering Frontier to pay almost all of that $2.5 million fine to Operation Fuel to provide financial assistance to utility customers. Frontier has 20 days from receipt of PURA's notice to request a formal hearing with the authority. Brent, Bridget.
All right, Emma, thank you. Well, this week, NATO celebrated its 75th anniversary, but much of the summit was overshadowed by debate over President Joe Biden and questions over whether he should continue to run. Fox's Rebecca Castor has more on how the president plans to address concerns in a press conference in just a few minutes.
Tonight, President Biden is holding an unscripted news conference, his first in nearly 8 months.
This is a big night at the White House.
President Biden wrapping up the 3-day NATO summit in Washington, holding a rare solo news conference. The high-stakes moment, one of the biggest public tests for Biden since last month's rocky debate performance that fueled questions as to whether he's still up for the job.
Tonight will be important. The press conference will be potentially a turning point.
But other worried Democrats also have to be convinced. Some meeting with Biden campaign officials earlier today.
We had a good discussion with the president's campaign team, and they made a very strong presentation, and I found it very helpful.
At this point in his term, Biden has held fewer news conferences than any president since Ronald Reagan. His last solo news conference was in November. This week, the White House worked to fend off questions about the president's health, refocusing attention on tonight's press conference.
He's looking forward to it, and he will be taking your questions, so that'll be a good thing.
This as some Democratic lawmakers try to do damage control after actor George Clooney published an op-ed Wednesday arguing Biden should step down and let another candidate take the reins.
I'm more of a Matt Damon guy than a George Clooney guy.
President Biden is showing no signs of stepping aside in this race. He's scheduled to campaign in Detroit tomorrow, his 4th trip to battleground Michigan this year. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.